Hello, so it is the 19th of January and I haven't updated in a little while, but I wanted to, and that is because I finished a bunch of books. So I finished Towers Falling, and this is a really interesting book because it's marketed as middle grade, but I really don't think it's middle grade. I've read another Jewel Parker Rhodes, which was Ghost Voids, and it had a 12-year-old protagonist, and it was like brilliantly written. And this was the most like blunt, direct, short sentence kind of thing. And it read very much like a chapter book. Like it had a 10-year-old protagonist, so it's younger than normal middle grade, but like I was just overwhelmed with the fact that like it just and part of it was the narrator. It was just like she sounded whiny the whole time, and it was just like you can have short sentences, but you also need to kind of juxtapose those with long sentences so that it doesn't feel really, really abrupt. Um, but also you're trying to get inside a 10-year-old's mind. So I feel like this could be a really good book for children, but it's not a middle grade book that's super worked for an adult audience, at least for me. And it's about 9/11 and about like history, and it's also weird to me to think that this person is in middle school and this book came out 4 years ago, and they weren't born when 9/11 happened. I'm old. Okay. Um, but I thought that it presenting 9/11 as a mystery was a really odd thing. Like she's from Brooklyn and she doesn't know what happened across the bridge and stuff. And I guess that's a reality, but it seems, I don't know, it didn't seem like a story that, I don't know, it didn't gel well with me. It didn't sit well with me. Stairs, the crimson creation men have come to call the vision stands solidarily in the darkening hall. That is the most pretentious line, and I love pretension. I'm doing some research because WandaVision is, wow, incredible. So a lot of this comic is kind of over the top and ridiculous, but then we have scenes like this talking about how Vision has feelings, but then they have never seen him race to his wife's side after a battle. They have never seen him kneel tenderly alongside her. They have never heard the catch in his throat as the gazing into the eyes, realizing what the battle has done to her. And they have never witnessed the outpouring of emotion as the two lovers embrace almost amidst the ruins. Those who have seen such things speak the truth when they said, even a sinusoid can cry. Hello. Vlogging has been kind of difficult. My mental health has not been great. For many of you know, I have PTSD, which sometimes likes to hit its nasty head and has been lately. Which means that so I have infrequent nightmares that are trauma adjacent, which means that rather than reliving experiences that I directly did, it's the same subject matter, but in different situations that I've never experienced. And often I have these quite commonly, but during certain times, for no apparent reason, I have them, and during now I'm having them every single night, which my body is partly just refusing to fall asleep, which is annoying because I'm dead tired and just sitting there after like 36 hours and my body just won't go out of like flight or fright to just sleep, which is annoying. I always have been listening to a lot of podcasts and stuff like that and trying to calm down, but I recently picked up Jane Eyre and I'm loving it. It kind of hits the dark, choking, but also need of comfort that I love, that allows me to have some kind of sanity, and I really like this one. I grew by degrees cold as stone, and then my courage sank. Like, I don't know, there's something about reading books that are depressing that sometimes help me feel a little bit of hope and tea and all of those things, but I will check in with you guys later. I don't really feel like vlogging, but vlogging often makes me feel happier, so let's try. Problems. Your mom's ring in your pocket, my picture. Hello, I haven't been in a car in approximately 107 years. Actually, this is my first time driving in 2021, which says something because it is the 13th. I always feel weird. There's a man with his child beside me. I'm going to pretend like I am not vlogging. I am talking to someone normal, and this is completely normal behavior, and I'm going to stop talking like it. Okay, so I'm in the midst of Jane Eyre, and I'm reading it physically, which I always enjoy and don't do very often, and it is making me very, very angry. I'm in the boarding house school part, and you know, he's just like, vanity becomes them. That person has natural curly hair. I'm going to cut off all their hair, and like, I hate them, and like, starve them, and like, do terrible things. And then his wife and like daughters come in, and they're like dressed to the nines. Anger is mine, declares me. Yeah, I'm very frustrated. I finished Another Country and I finished Kane, which were both really, really good. Other than that, I went on a binge of the Magnus Archives, which, my goodness, are incredible. They are a horror podcast written and mostly voiced by Jonathan Sims, and wow, incredible. I counted them as books because they are like, they're completely written and scripted, and like, you know, each season is about 500 pages, so I feel like it counts as a book, and it took a lot of my time, but it was also so good. And how my roommate, so now I get to re-listen to them, and like I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm figuring so much and I'm like up to date, and I don't want it to be over because like it's ending in 5 episodes, but it's so dang good. So I love the lighting in the car. It's so much better than any other place. I love that even though I live in the middle of the city, there is so many ducks in this pond right here. I love nature, and during quarantine, the best time you can look at the things is recognizing that nature isn't far from you, even in the mix of isolation. Hi, so I'm in the middle of Black Flamingo, and it's a novel in verse that is in the UK and about Michael, and it covers his whole growing up, and I thought I was gonna love it because novel in verse, except for the fact that we are an hour and 45 minutes in, and we have gone from birth to university. And it's very like direct, like I do this, without a lot of lyricism. So like, even though I'm enjoying his moment, I don't feel like I've ever had a time to be fixated in his actual story. So it's like things are happening, but like I don't feel like there's given time to have emotions about it. So even though it's a fascinating story, I don't feel involved. It's like, oh yes, he's 12. Well, no, I think he was 6, and then it was like, you know, middle school, and I was like, what? And then he was like 15, and then he was like 17, and I was like, and then he's like, yep, university, and I was like, okay, this is like 100 pages and just whoop. So yeah, I don't feel super involved, but I am enjoying the story, so I feel very, I don't know, like torn about how I feel about the book. I'm still half left, and he's just starting university, so I'm hoping that we're gonna get some more focus now. But so far, it's like it has good like sections, but it's very jumpy. I really liked the end, and I thought that especially when he reads out all of the name of queer icons, oh, that was such a great scene, and it was so many, which is encouraging. And even the idea that like so often we see no representation, and to see so many names is wonderful. There was one moment when he gave poetry as an actual thing. Apparently I can't hold a thing straight. Uh, and it was wonderful poetry, and I just wish all of it had been that poetic. I am, like, I enjoyed the story, I enjoyed his things. I think that it has a very interesting split, as a lot of the characters that are important in the first half don't matter in the second, so I thought that that was a strange thing. I did really enjoy it. I think that if it had been longer and maybe another draft, it would have been like an excellent book, because I loved the story, but I thought the storytelling was jumpy and often not consistent, and that really lowered my enjoyment. Like, I really enjoyed it, but I wasn't moved as much because I never felt completely connected to Michael, because I thought we didn't get enough time to sit with him. And we got very, like, blunt first-person things rather than kind of moving more expressive, which some people are, and that's fine. But I don't know, I'm always a little bit more of a metaphorical, sitting with the moments rather than telling us what you feel directly. But yeah, Black Flamingo is a great story. It's about drag, and it's about gay identity, and also like that sometimes lines aren't as strict as we need them to be. And yeah, it's also one that doesn't deal with it does deal with homophobia and stuff like that, but it doesn't, that's not what it's centered around, which is lovely. And it also deals with like racial identity and what it means to not have a father and all of these things in friendship, and it's really lovely story. I just wish it was like twice as long, because it's a very short book. But yeah, I'm excited to see, I need to look up the author, but whatever they do, I would be excited to see what they write next. You should always start the reading material 52 minutes before the live show. I love Casually Comics, as I will always rant. One, Sasha is amazing, but I did not read this because I was like, oh, it's a month away, and then I was like, oh crap, it's in 52 minutes. I will read this now. So no idea what this is, but that's a very interesting cover.
There's a little man with a lantern.
It's so pretty. Say hi.
Hello, friends.
Oh my goodness, I can't see it all because there's sun in my way. But I am out in a coat and most of the snow, without a coat, most of the snow is gone, which makes me excited. And books, the library, shall be a day, and I shall have adventures. I have determined it. So the joy of everything is that the great lighting in all of these just shine the light on me. I don't love hats because I don't think that they look particularly great on me, but I was like, you know what, I want to wear my hair down, and my top of my hair was just not cooperating, so I was like, okay, I'll do this. Except for I did not think about how hot it is. I have breathing issues, and I'm going to ignore the fact that there's a person looking. Well, that marks the first time that I've ever stopped filming because someone literally pointed from about 4 feet away and started talking to me. I've been screamed at. I've had other things happen. I've never had someone like come up to my window and point at me. Which is just awkward, very, very awkward. Ah! Did not put the parking brake on. Yeah, no, apparently part of one of my back tires is slightly low, so I decided to point. I was like, I'm just going to ignore the person so that I can, you know, confidently continue filming. Not a good call. They just like came up and pointed at me. So I got a bunch of books from the library. I should have pulled them out first. So I got some Alice Walker because I saw her and I was like, oh yes, I want to read her poetry. And I got a Dracula book that looks at Bram Stoker's ones, and then I got some feminist books because they had things because it's International Women's Day, burning down women writing about anger. I love things about like specifically geared things, and I also love talking about writing and stuff like that. Power Shift, The Longest Revolution. I'm not sure exactly what this is, but I love the cover. I think I've heard great things, and I'm really in some for feminist literature. Oh, here's the Bram Stoker one. Right here. Stalker. Well, he kind of does stalk you. Stoker, though. Which just makes me think of Magnus Archives, which I love so much, because Timothy is named after that. And this is a book that I planned on reading earlier, and I just never got around to it. But now that I'm in a huge graphic novel thing, I think it's time to pick this up. And is that it? I think that's it. Yeah, I haven't slept, and then I went out for the first time and like went out and civilized with people for the first time in like 3 months, and it was a lot. It was a lot. Like, I felt slightly overwhelmed. But I'm glad that I have my library card again, because that's something that's stressed. So I don't know if I told the story. I lost my wallet with all of my cards, health card, Visa, library card, everything. But one of the most stressful things, other than not being able to leave the house because I didn't have a driver's license or a health card, yeah. But yeah, so I wasn't able to go online and like organize my books for my library or request things, which just stressed me out more than it should have. Like, the Visa was one thing, the library card was a whole other thing.